Trading card games are a complete scam. Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, whatever else there is out there, a complete scam. At least if you're trying to play them competitively. Now, before we get into the video here, I know I'm a little shiny, a little greasy. I just finished working out after a long day of being a complete degenerate playing Last Epoch. So yeah, I know I'm disgusting. Don't mind me. But that's not important. What is important is how much of a scam that trading card games are. Now, for some backstory, a few weeks ago, I was at a trade show. Now, I've never been to a trade show before. If you guys don't know what a trade show is, it's like where tradesmen, like plumbers and like city workers and people who do stuff with their hands, right? They all go to like a convention. It's almost like an anime convention for like the blue collar folk, right? And at this convention or at this trade show, I was watching a water meter tap on a pipe, right? There's this big long pipe and this crew of like 6 people, they run out and they put this big thing that makes a hole on the pipe and then the water shoots everywhere. And then they put like a line going from the pipe, like to what would be a house, right? But they just put it out there for show onto a tap so they can turn the tap on and get water, right? They tapped a meter or put a meter tap in. And I don't know what it was about watching these guys like work together and fight and compete. Like there was 2 teams. There was like 2 teams racing and then there was like 10 teams total competing for the best time. And they were out there getting it, man. They were so serious. And whatever it was about all this, like it got me feeling competitive. There was a commentator there. They had a color commentator. They had a shoutcaster. The audience was cheering and I got pulled in. I was pulled into it. I was hooked. I was like, oh man, this is serious. So, but watching that, it ignited a fire in me, right? When I got home, I was like, damn, now I want to do something competitive. I want to compete, but I'm limited to what I can do. I hurt my knee lifting, so I have knee issues. And now I can't do any physical activities. I can never be the guy out there competing with this team, putting a tap on the line, right? So I started looking for things that I could compete in. I thought back to the days of old when I was a kid coming up and playing Yu-Gi-Oh. I was like, maybe I'll get into Yu-Gi-Oh. See, that's pretty competitive. People play that competitively nowadays, right? I mean, it was either that or Pokemon, but I was a Yu-Gi-Oh kid. I played the shit out of Yu-Gi-Oh. In 2004, when it was popping off and it was jumping, I was making decks from booster packs. No idea what I was doing, but I was there. I was playing. I was living life. So I started looking into Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, and Magic, right? The big 3. I played Magic the Gathering Arena, right? I think that's what it's called, Magic the Arena, whatever it is. The video game Magic game, right? And there was just too much going on. So I dropped it. And then I tried to get back into Yu-Gi-Oh, and then the text on the cards was so tiny that I couldn't read anything. I didn't even want to put in the time to understand what was going on with pendulum summons and all this other stuff. There was too much going. Yu-Gi-Oh had evolved too far for my peanut brain to understand. And then there's Pokemon, which is the simplest, and they just had their little phone mobile game come out that's pretty fun, and it made Pokemon seem approachable. But this is where the problem begins with trading card games. If you want to build a deck that can compete, you can't just buy booster packs and put a deck together, right? Sure, you can play with your friends that way. Maybe make a fun deck just to mess around, but you can't compete seriously with a deck like that. If you want to get a good deck, you have to buy good cards, and good cards are expensive because they're rare, right? It's a controlled scarcity that these card manufacturers put out. And now this is my beef. This is my beef with trading card games. It's not an even ground. Trading card games they're so pay to win. All you got to do is get enough money to buy all the good cards and you'll be a step above anybody else who can't afford to build that deck. You know what I mean? Sure, might not know how to play it. Somebody better could take advantage of you, but your baseline, your skill floor is just is elevated so much just because you had money to buy the good cards. And, I just don't feel like spending money like hundreds of dollars on a deck just to compete. I know there are structured decks, right? And I like the idea of structured decks. Like theoretically, you should be able to buy a structured deck and compete. but the cards in the structure deck are never going to be as strong as the singles that you get from booster packs that you just go buy individually from the card shop. So what I think would make the competitive card game less scammy and more fair would be if they had variants of the cards that were good, right? You have a good card, baseline, there's like a non-holographic super base version, which you see sometimes in structure decks for older cards, never the current, I was going to say patch, I don't even know what they call it, not the current cycle, we'll go with cycle, not the current cycle, but they always like, you know, bring down the holos, bring down the holographics and bring in the older cards. They make them accessible later on after they deem it as like, you know, not accessible, I guess. And that's my issue. You can't play sets. That's what they're called. You can't play an older set in a modern meta because they make the old sets useless every time they make a new set because they want you to buy the new set, right? So they can validate all the cards you were collecting and wasting money on in the past. And again, we went over the fact that you have to buy individual cards unless you just have money to drop on booster packs and help you pull it, right? Either way, you're spending money. And then they invalidate the money and then release the non-special version later. All they have to do to fix this is just release like a base version of all the cards, right? And if they want to have special cards for the collectors out there, I know it's the collectors that drive the prices up on everything, right? Just make special altered or holographic versions of those cards and don't change the effect on it, even though they're not going to do that because it's obvious they want the money. They want the card has to be powerful for people to buy it, so they have to create the need, what is it? You know, the demand for the card. But if they could just equalize power, like have just non-holographic, normal baseline versions of the good cards, and then have special altered holographic, you know, awesome versions of the cards for the collectors, I could get behind that. I'd be willing to spend money on something like that. But to be stuck having to drop money to stay current with the new set, right? The new meta, and then to just be priced out on the good cards, because I'm not going to spend hundreds of dollars on a deck. I know some people are like, oh, you can get cheap intro decks, but no, the good decks, they all have money behind them because the strong cards are more valuable, right? This economics basics. But I can't get into it. So it just turns out that competitive trading card games are just not the competitive environment that I'm looking for. They can't scratch the itch. And I really tried to get into them again, and man, it hurt. It really hurt. Even if you want to play the video games, you have to buy money on these virtual booster packs. And that's even worse because once you get the virtual booster pack, when you decide to quit playing the game, you can't even resell the cards, you know? You're just stuck with them. You just wasted money. The most wasteful microtransactions ever. And then in the video games, you'll have people saying, oh, I never spent a dime and I play for free. And they're not the ones competing at the top ranks of the video game. Granted, you know, we all know games with microtransactions cater to the whales. We know this, but it just hurts, man. I really thought that trading card games would be my competitive outlet from my old age. You know what I mean? Something I could get into, relive through some nostalgia, and really compete and get that feeling again. But I guess my search is going to have to continue because I'm not about to waste all that money on trading card games. No offense to anybody that collects them. I have no problem with collectors, by the way, or people who buy and resell cards. Like, do your thing. It's a whole ass economy for a reason. And it's it's one of the most insane things to me, but you guys do your thing, man. And I'll keep looking for my my next competitive angle here. That's it for this one. Later.